Hello and welcome to Oddspedia Bundesliga Matchday 4 and after the international break with a lot of news in Germany. Actually, they don't have Hansi Flick anymore on the bench of the national German team. And we have Ronan Murphy to analyze with us this game day, starting on Friday with a huge game, Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen. Ronan, how are you?
I am good. How are you? I'm much better than Hansi Flick anyway. I hope you are also the same, better than poor Hansi.
Yeah, still with a job, as far as I know. Perhaps Hansi Flick is taking a look at the Bundesliga. And who knows if he wants to take, for instance, Borussia Dortmund's bench that they haven't started well the season, Ronan.
No, they surely haven't. And I wonder, is 𝐜𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜𝐿 long for the job? He's obviously a hugely popular figure at Borussia Dortmund. He's been there years. They trusted him to be the caretaker manager before. They gave him the full-time head coaching job, but I'm not sure he's up to the job. I've said it a long time, but if you've been backing Borussia Dortmund this season, you've been kind of very disappointed at every game because they seem to come up with ways to throw it away. So I'm not sure Hansi Flick maybe will go to the likes of Borussia Dortmund, but I suppose what other jobs are out there for him now? He's had the two biggest jobs in Germany, so everything else is going to be a step down.
Indeed. After managing Bayern Munich and the Mannschaft, the German national team. So let's analyze all the games we have this match day, fourth match day with Ronan Murphy. With you guys, remember as always, leave your comments and don't forget, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And also remember that we have a special welcome bonus together with 1xBet. You can get up to 130%. Just use our Oddspedia YouTube promo code and use also the link that we have below. And if the international break is over in Germany, we have a massive game on Friday to start with. And I'm talking about Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen, the only two teams with all victories, 9 points. So this is not going to be any more possible after round 4. And impressive numbers for Bayer Leverkusen, especially 11 goals scored, only 3 goals conceded, because for Bayern Munich, we kind of expected that, but Ronan, also, they finally beat Gladbach away, so the curse is over for Bayern Munich in that ground.
Yeah, it is, and we had predicted last week before the international break that Gladbach would score first, and that came true. Bayern Munich were forced into a late goal, and that one I had in my notes before the game to back Bayern to come from behind, but I never said it. Of course, it's always the one that got away. People can believe me or not, but I had that in mind when I was talking about that game, because I think Bayern Munich's defense is a bit shaky this season. Obviously, Benjamin Pavard has gone, Stanisic has gone. Stanisic has actually gone to Leverkusen, so he could be strengthening the rivals this season. So I don't think Bayern Munich's defense is as strong as it has been in the past. So they're always at risk of giving up easy goals, and against a team on fire like Bayer Leverkusen, this could be a game where they do give away easy goals. And like you said, it's coming off the back of the international break, a difficult one for Germany, and some of the key players in the Bayern Munich team are obviously Germany internationals. Both Thomas Tuchel and Bayer Leverkusen director Simon Rolfes have given out about this game. They've complained that this game is on Friday, that's such a short break after the international break. So it kind of makes it a bit more unpredictable, I think, because players will be jet lagged coming from faraway countries. Players who were with Germany will obviously have the fallout of Hansi Flick's exit, the disappointing defeat to Japan, all that sort of nonsense hanging over them. So it will be, I'm not sure it's going to be an easy game for Bayern Munich. They're playing Bayer Leverkusen probably at the wrong time in the season, because Bayer Leverkusen looks so good early on under Xabi Alonso. Bayern Munich had a frustrating end to the transfer window. Obviously, we saw Palhinha fly into Bayern Munich. He was in Munich. He was having his medicals. Then that fell through. He had to go back to Fulham with his tail between his legs. So Thomas Tuchel hasn't got the number 6 that he wanted. So I'm not sure Bayern Munich this season, maybe this is the season that someone can can knock on the door and challenge Bayern Munich for the title and stop that relentless Bundesliga one after another, even with Harry Kane. Maybe this is the year, because Thomas Tuchel, when he gets frustrated, we've seen at other clubs before, it can be difficult for the players if they're not getting on with the manager and they're not getting picked. So for this one, I'm thinking Leverkusen might have a good chance, and I think their odds are very favourable, especially with all the drama that I described kind of around the international break and around the players, the fatigue, jet lag, the form that Bayer Leverkusen are in at the moment, the fact that Bayer Leverkusen are scoring so often. So I think Leverkusen winning is fantastic value at over 5. Obviously, if you want to play it a bit safer, you could put in some sort of handicap for either team. But I think Leverkusen winning, those odds are huge, and perhaps this is the best chance for Leverkusen to kind of capitalize on the way Bayern Munich are playing, or the kind of drama around the club.
Okay, so surprise here in the Allianz Arena, Bayer Leverkusen to win is 5.15. So if you go perhaps Asian handicap +1 or something like this, it should give you odds around 2.5. Still good to back Leverkusen if you are not as brave as Ronan to go straight away for Leverkusen, but you put 10 euros and you might get 50. Why not? The next game is Cologne Hoffenheim. Here we have Cologne with only 1 point. On the other hand, we have Hoffenheim with 6 points and a good start after losing in the opening day against Freiburg. They beat Heidenheim and Wolfsburg at home. I have to say, Ronan, that all games played by Hoffenheim saw both teams to score.
Yeah, I think Hoffenheim have been kind of a very interesting team this season. Cologne, on the other hand, very boring. But Hoffenheim have been very interesting so far this season. And I think that's part of the way they're playing at the moment under Pellegrino Matarazzo. They're playing kind of more attacking. The wing backs they're choosing, especially in the 3-1 win over Wolfsburg. He had a very attacking kind of setup. He had lots of players up front. He kind of had moved some of the attacking players even a bit further back to get in more attackers, so he could play this 3-5-2 with Kramaric even as a supporting player rather than on the front two. So I think with the amount of goal scorers that Hoffenheim have on the pitch, and Wout Weghorst has kind of seemed to put that Man United disaster behind him, and he seemed to refine his form like we saw in the Bundesliga before. He played well for the Netherlands over the international break. He looks kind of rejuvenated there, and I think him and Kramaric are a perfect pair to link up. Obviously, they have Bayer as well up front, so they have plenty of firepower to get goals. And Cologne, on the other hand, they don't seem to have a lot of firepower. They've only scored twice this season. They don't look sharp so far early in the season, and even in the games, it's not that they're scoring. They're not taking chances either. They're not getting a lot of shots on target. It's 9 per game compared to Hoffenheim's 18.3. So Hoffenheim are taking twice as many shots as Cologne are so far this season. So it looks like, even though Hoffenheim are travelling to Cologne, that they should win this one because they're on a rich vein of form. Cologne are very hit and miss and are still kind of trying to find their feet this season. They haven't really done too much. So Hoffenheim winning looks good to me here. Hoffenheim -1 is 6.5, which if you're really going to gamble like I was on Leverkusen earlier, but it might be safer just to look at the Hoffenheim win, and that's coming in around 3. And I think Hoffenheim have enough about them, and Cologne don't, that Hoffenheim should get over the line in this one.
They come to this game as the underdog. Actually, Cologne, they are favorites. As I mentioned before, Hoffenheim together with Augsburg, the only 2 teams with all 3 games, both teams to score. Cologne, on the other hand, as you mentioned before, only 2 goals scored, 4 goals conceded. More boring. So far, we give you, as we always say, we give you the data, your analysis, Ronan, and then everyone can place the bets whenever or however they want, of course. And for the next game, I have highlighted really good odds. Actually, because I'm talking about Freiburg, Borussia, Dortmund. This is a very interesting game. Two teams playing in Europe this season, and I've said that I've highlighted very good odds for Freiburg because they are the underdog, as they should be if we check the name of the players. But Dortmund, they've had a horrible start. They beat Cologne only 1-0, and then they couldn't beat Bochum or Heidenheim. So facing a tougher opposition like Freiburg, perhaps we see problems again with Dortmund for sure, Ronan. I'm not brave enough to put my money again on the yellow team.
No, I think that they've shown us so far that anyone who was brave enough to put the money on the yellow team was far too brave. And I was one of those people that in the Borussia Dortmund camp, I was swayed by Borussia Dortmund's players on the pitch, the team name, the kind of quality of opposition, but it just hasn't been there. And like you were saying, we give our analysis of it, but I'm not sure many people would have predicted Dortmund to start this badly. Analysing them anyway, it just seems kind of bizarre that they've started so badly, and they face a difficult game coming out of the international break. A trip to Freiburg is never easy. Obviously, it's one of these imposing grounds to visit. They're an imposing team. Freiburg are always set up well under Christian Streich. They might not have been set up well in the last game. They lost 5-0 to Stuttgart, but those things happen. Those things happen to a team like Freiburg. There's always a couple of results in the season that things just go awry for Freiburg. But Christian Streich is the man kind of to turn it around. And on the other hand, like I said, with 𝐜𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐿, I'm not sure he is the man for the job here. And Freiburg obviously had their problems in that game against Stuttgart. Ginter at the back, he looked kind of frustrated after he was left out of the Germany squad, but he had a chat with Hansi Flick, and now I think with the hopes of a new manager coming in, perhaps he can put all that kind of Germany frustration behind him, focus on playing well for Freiburg, get them back to where they belong, and then get into the new manager's plan. So I think we'll see a different Ginter after the international break, and that should be hugely helpful for Freiburg because he is kind of one of their leaders on the pitch, and that's something they need. Dortmund, they had an intense game against Heidenheim. It was one of these ones where they looked to throw away a lead. Daniel Mahlen, he was very busy, but he made bad choices. I had highlighted him before the game as being one of the top scorers, one of the joint top scorers in Germany in 2023, but he just was picking the wrong option. He was passing when he should shoot. And even for the Netherlands during the international break, I saw him up close as Ireland lost 2-1 to the Netherlands, and Wout Weghorst came on at half time, and it was only halfway through the second half that Mahlen's number went up. I was like, oh, it wasn't Mahlen who actually had been taken off for the Netherlands at half time. He was still on the pitch. He was just kind of one of them kind of marginal figures that didn't seem to do a lot. So hopefully he can turn things back around for Dortmund, but they have obviously plenty of striking talent, even if they can't rely on him. Füllkrug has come in. Haller is obviously there. Adeyemi, they have plenty of players to score goals. And I think this could be a match where there is a lot of goals. Freiburg obviously conceded a lot in their last game. Dortmund showed that they can't even defend against Heidenheim. So why should they be able to defend against Freiburg? So I think there could be plenty of goals in this one. I'm looking at over 3.7 goals as good value in this one. It's coming in at 2.6 as last I seen.
Okay, usually we have a lot of goals actually in the Bundesliga games, and also in this start of the season is happening, not especially for Dortmund so far, 4 goals, but also conceding a lot. Let's see if we see a goal feast for Dortmund. They have to travel to Paris, remember, in the Champions League. So they have a very tough week ahead of them. Another team playing in the Champions League, RB Leipzig, playing at home against Augsburg. The Champions League debut is going to be easier for Leipzig, playing against young boys. And Also, we are enjoying them in the Bundesliga, Ronan, with a lot of goals. Great victory in the capital with 𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻𝐿 scoring a brace. Also, he's been good in the international break. We saw Xavi Simons in the score sheet. Unfortunately for Dani Olmo, he got injured. With Spain, here we should expect also goals. This Leipzig looks like a reliable team right now.
Yeah, they do, and like you said, they're playing young boys in the Champions League in their next game. But it's the young boys who have been shining so far for Leipzig this season, with like Xavi Simons and Benjamin Sesko coming off the bench, kind of to impress. But Simons has been involved in a goal or assist every game so far, so he's really showing that potential that we knew he had, and he's getting a chance to show it at a higher level than he has before. So he can be a real difference maker for Leipzig. I think they can rely on him if almost to miss any extended period. They can rely on Simons, and they always have these players they can rely on. Leipzig seems to be one of these teams that has a conveyor belt of talented players. No matter who they sell or who leaves the club, they'll bring in someone, even if it's just on loan. They know how to make shrewd signings, and they look to have done that again with some of the acquisitions they've made during the summer. Augsburg, they haven't been great so far this season. They were lucky to draw in their last game against Bochum. There's a justified reason why they're at 13 to win this game, and the draw is even 7.5. I think everybody favors Leipzig in this one. Nobody really favors Augsburg, although they have strengthened somewhat during the end of the transfer window. They've got new defenders in Tanganga from Spurs, and Kevin Mbabu has come in. He obviously has Bundesliga experience. He'll fit in at right back, and that'll allow Arne Engels to push forward back into the defensive midfield position that he's more suited to. But with any new signings and new players, especially at a team like Augsburg, it's going to take them a while to settle. So I'm not sure they'll really be at their best in this game. We might see those players kind of show their worth later on in games against teams, rivals in the table, not teams like Leipzig who want to challenge for the title. So this should be a comfortable win for Leipzig, and you can see why the odds are in their favour and why Augsburg's odds are so poor in this one. But I think Leipzig could score a lot of goals in this game. They've scored a lot of goals so far this season, and -2 in the handicap looks a good bet for me, because I think they can win this one comfortably. They're home in front of their home fans, and like you said, they have a favourable Champions League fixture, so they won't need to worry too much about resting players to give them the opportunity to play in Champions League. So I think they'll play a strong side, and the strong side will be too much for Augsburg.
Yes, this is usually we are at the beginning of the season, but this kind of match days in between the international break and the European fixtures, usually they are tricky with a lot of surprises, but Leipzig, they have a favorable calendar with Augsburg conceding a lot. As I mentioned at the beginning, is one of the teams together with Hoffenheim with all the games both teams to score. And talking about goals, let's go to Mainz. They are playing against Stuttgart, and I mentioned the goals because the top scorer of the competition is playing there. Guirassy, the Guinea national, scored 5 goals so far in the competition. Also, Stuttgart had a great start of the season with 6 points. This is a team that should be fighting to avoid relegation, but the bad start, Ronan, was for Mainz with only 1 point and thrashed by Union Berlin and Werder Bremen.
Yeah, Mainz have been poor so far this season. They've only scored 2 goals. Compare that to Stuttgart's 11. It's a massive difference. But they've kind of been plagued by injuries early in the season so far. But that said, even when some of the players that missed out early on, Seth van der Berg, the Liverpool loanee, and Andreas Hanche-Olsen, when they came back, they didn't look that much of an improvement on the players they had there before. So I'm not sure it matters who plays for Mainz. They just look in trouble this season. It's going to be very hard for them to do anything against Bremen last time out. They were abysmal. They deserved the level of the defeat. And Stuttgart, on the other hand, they were incredible in the win over Freiburg. They won 5-0. I'm not sure many people saw it coming. I certainly didn't. I didn't think that they could keep up this 5 goals a game kind of thing that they've been doing so far, 5-4 or 5 against. So maybe this could be another 5-0 or 5-1, but I don't think I'll go out on a limb that much and say there's going to be 5 goals in this game, or 5 goals for Stuttgart. But it's going to be hard for Mainz to do anything here. Like I said, they've only scored 2 goals so far this season. They haven't beaten Stuttgart at home in 5 years. So even their home form in this fixture is not favourable for them. It's going to be a tricky tie. They're facing the Stuttgart side who have exceeded expectations so far in the season, but are proving that maybe they can be a team that will knock on the door of Europe later in the season and can finish highly towards the end of the season, despite having lost big players. They've reinvested well. So this Stuttgart team, they definitely should have enough to see off Mainz in this game. Like I said, Mainz haven't won this one in 5 years, so I don't think they're going to win this one either. So I'm predicting a Stuttgart win in this match.
Well, this comes with odds at 2.8, really high odds for both outcomes. Actually, the draw is the most likely outcome for this game. And in this match day, I have to say that we are seeing really high odds for all the teams. This is how difficult it is to predict Bundesliga. For instance, the next game also, we have really big odds. Is Wolfsburg Union Berlin, very interesting game. 6 points for both teams, and the team playing Champions League, Union Berlin, and they come as the underdog for this game. If we were talking about an easy fixture in the Champions League for Leipzig, we cannot say the same for Union Berlin. Their debut in the Champions League is going to be at the Bernabeu. Let's see if they put everything they have in Wolfsburg, or they keep something for that very special game for them.
Yeah, I think that's probably reflective in the odds then, and the early season form of both teams. This is not going to be an easy one for Union Berlin, and they will have one eye on that Real Madrid game because it's such a big game in their history. A team like Union Berlin don't play Real Madrid in Madrid. It just, if you had said 2 or 3 years ago that this was going to happen, nobody would have believed you. It's just kind of a fairy tale story, and it's going to be a great experience for their fans to have Champions League teams visit Berlin. Maybe not visit their stadium. Obviously, they have to upgrade to the Olympic Stadion for the games, but it will be a great experience for them to play in Champions League. But I think Urs Fischer is a good enough manager that he can balance both, and he has strengthened the squad so well during the summer with the Champions League money. They haven't gone out and spent massive amounts on any player, but they've spent kind of small amounts on proven talent, the likes of Kevin Volland, who got sent off actually in the last game. But I think he can, over the course of the season, he can be a difference maker. He can be someone for them that can help them pick up points and help kind of strengthen the depth of the team when they need to have the Champions League fixtures kind of sandwiched in between Bundesliga games. And this is a tricky one for them. Wolfsburg, they were disappointing last time out, but they did show something that we hadn't seen from Wolfsburg so far this season, that someone other than Jonas Wind can score goals. Thiago Thomas got on the score sheet in the 3-1 defeat to Hoffenheim. So there is potential in them up front, and they're not just relying on Jonas Wind to do everything for them, which obviously was never going to work in the long run. But I think this will be a tricky game for Union. They haven't won at Wolfsburg in 7 years, and like you said, the odds are difficult to look at Union Berlin. It's difficult to trust them to win this game, even though you would think on paper they're probably the better team. It's difficult to trust them, and it's no wonder the odds are over 3 for them to win this. So I think what could happen is maybe they could score first. It could be they could kind of start well, and then as the game goes on, the Fischer might look towards conserving some of the bigger players and maybe offer Wolfsburg a way back into the game, as he has one eye on that Real Madrid match. So I think Union to score first looks like the best option for me from this game anyway.
Okay, this is 2.3, Union Berlin to score first, same odds as Wolfsburg to win, actually, 2.35 if you trust the home team. And the last game we have on Saturday is Bochum, Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt, they are playing in the Conference League on Thursday. 5 points so far, but struggling to score goals. And imagine now with 𝐿𝐴𝐵 gone, I guess it's going to be more difficult for Frankfurt, for Bochum. I guess we have to wait if they are going to be as strong as last season when they are playing at home. So far, they got 2 points, and one of them was against Borussia Dortmund, so it's not that bad.
No, definitely not. I think these are two teams that are maybe finding their feet early in the season, especially Frankfurt with 𝐿𝐴𝐵 kind of transfer saga dragging on so long and dragged on so long that it didn't seem to get a replacement for them. And Omar Marmoush has started up front in his absence, and it's not really a comparable replacement. It's like replacing a Moto TT bike with a bicycle, with a push bike. I think it's that much of a downgrade for them. The goals aren't going to come in the same way for them. It's going to be a lot harder for Frankfurt without someone like 𝐿𝐴𝐵, but without anybody else, because we've seen in the past that they had options in attack, that even when they had Jovic, Rebic, Haller, that kind of thing, that there was different players that could be relied on to score goals. And after that, they brought in Paciencia, and he scored a few, 13 in 52 at the time, and now he's actually on the other team because he was a deadline day signing for Bochum. I think he would be good enough to start for Frankfurt now, but I think Bochum have their own struggles in front of a goal so far. Asano, he did well in the last game. That was 2-2 draw with Augsburg, but it's not the same level of a defence that you're facing. And like I said, Augsburg had their own issues in defence. So this match isn't one that screams goals to me. Each team has only scored 3 goals this season, so it's not one that really is one that you're gonna tune into on Saturday evening if you're at loose end and you want to turn on the TV. Perhaps there might be a better Premier League match on at the same time or something. That might be a more fascinating one. So if you are a hardcore Bundesliga fan, I'll probably tune into it, but maybe the Rugby World Cup or something else might take your eyes off this one. It's not the most glamorous Saturday evening game, unfortunately. So in this one, I'm backing both teams not to score. Both teams to score no at 2.38. I just don't think there's goals in this match.
Okay, you convinced me not to watch this game. And actually on Sunday, we can take a look at other competitions probably, because the games are also not very interesting to watch, but perhaps to bet. Yes, because the first one, for instance, Heidenheim, Werder Bremen, we have really high odds for Werder Bremen. They are the underdog for this game. For Heidenheim, the good news is that they got the first point in the Bundesliga against Dortmund when no one expected it. But Werder Bremen, they beat Mainz 4-0, and then they lost to Freiburg and Bayern in the previous 2 games. If you bet, Ronan, in the previous game on both teams to score no, or you tip this one, you must know that Werder Bremen is the only team in the Bundesliga with all 3 games, both teams to score no.
Yeah, I think this actually could be the one to end that streak. I think Heidenheim, although you've said that it doesn't seem like the most entertaining game, Heidenheim have played fairly entertaining games so far. Obviously, the 2-2 with Borussia Dortmund, but they also played a brilliant game with Hoffenheim the previous week. They weren't brilliant, but the game was very entertaining. Hoffenheim needed late goals to win that one. It was a thriller. So this one could actually be an interesting one, because Heidenheim, I think they are showing a lot of bravery so far for a team who've never played in the Bundesliga before. They're not kind of rolling over and letting the big teams scratch their bellies. They seem to be putting enough up to the bigger teams. They have confidence in their ability to take points against the big teams, and they showed they could against Borussia Dortmund. And in that match, they showed fantastic tactical flexibility. They were playing a 4-1-4-1 initially. They changed it to a 4-4-2 diamond, and that allowed them to kind of press in Borussia Dortmund's midfield, to not let them do much, to not let them spread the ball around like they usually do. But even despite that, they still, the players probably aren't of a high enough quality to be able to get away with that on a weekly basis. They'll still concede chances, and against teams that will take chances, they will lose by and large. I think they will be an entertaining team to watch because they'll be unpredictable and they'll get surprise results. But overall, it's going to be a hard, long season for Heidenheim, and I'm surprised actually that they are favourites in this one, especially with Bremen coming off the back of a big win 4-0 over Mainz. It is a kind of a watershed moment for them this season. It could be a big turning point. Obviously, 𝐿krug is gone. They don't have his goals to rely on. 𝐿krug got injured after coming on to replace him. He got injured early on in the last game. He would have been seen as a longer term replacement, but I think it's not a major injury, so it shouldn't be a huge one. And I think the signing of Rafael Santos Borré could be a big one for Werder Bremen, because he could kind of fill in that 𝐿krug role, and him and 𝐿krug could have a good partnership going forward in the future. So I have hopes that Werder Bremen can do something this season and can avoid that relegation battle that they're so often pulled into. This would be a great match to pick up an extra 3 points in for them. And I think Heidenheim, so far, they've been a very entertaining team that they're likely to score in every match in favourites, because they haven't really proved anything at this level that they should be favourites.
Well, you mentioned Rafael Santos Borré. He scored actually in the international break with Colombia. And the last game we have on Sunday is the other just newly promoted team, Darmstadt, against Gladbach. 0 points for Darmstadt, only 2 goals scored. And if you want to bet on Gladbach, only 1 point, we have to say, no victory so far, but the odds are kind of good, almost 2.4. Would you go for it, Ronan?
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm looking for in this game, because I think Gladbach in the last game, they showed against Bayern Munich that they have enough potential to do a lot. So I think they can do something against a team like Darmstadt, who have only scored twice this season. They've conceded 10. Gladbach, on the other hand, their matches have been, even though they only have 1 point and they're in 16th, making this a relegation 6-pointer already early in the season. But the Gladbach, they've scored 5 and conceded 9. So they've been playing out close games so far this season. And that match against Bayern Munich was a close game. Bayern Munich needed a late goal from Tell to take all 3 points in that one. So I think if Gladbach can put in a similar performance against Darmstadt, there's no reason why they can't get maximum points in the first win of the season here. Darmstadt, they look good enough in the first 45 minutes against Bayer Leverkusen last time out, but the second 45 minutes, if you're a Darmstadt fan, don't talk about it. Leverkusen scored 4 goals, they ran riot. It looked simple for them at times. So Gladbach, they have good attackers of their own. They're obviously not going to put in a Leverkusen-like performance, but they definitely should win here, and those odds are very, very, very appealing at the moment.
Indeed, as I said, around 2.4 for Gladbach to win. Ronan, tell me your safe bet to finish the video.
Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen, both teams to score 1.44.
This is definitely the game to watch in this match day. And your ACCA?
Yeah, I'm looking at RB Leipzig to win 1.24. Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen, both teams to score at 1.44. Freiburg and Dortmund, both teams to score at 1.5, and Borussia Mönchengladbach to win at 2.37.
Okay, we will write down the total odds for this ACCA. Thanks, Ronan. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to press the like and subscribe. See you next week. Bye-bye.